Makalimutan ko pa. Papahinga lang ako. Papa-admit pa yung mga yan. Yan na. Can we now continue, guys? Can we now continue? Can we now begin and continue? Guys. Okay. Let's now move on to section 428. Assessment of duty on less than entered value. Now, first, let me define to you what is entered value. An entered value is not a value as found by the customs officer. An entered value is what has been declared by the importer. Okay? Ulitin ko po, an entered value is not the value actually found by the customs officer. It is the value declared either voluntarily or involuntarily by the importer. Mamaya or later on, I will tell you why it is involuntarily declared. If it is voluntarily declared, no problem po. Because that is the value freely declared by the importer. But if it is involuntarily declared, there is a problem. When I say involuntarily, it is not freely declared. In other words, if it is involuntarily declared by the importer, then the importer was forced or compelled to declare that entered value. The rule regarding assessment of customs duty is that duty shall not be assessed in any case upon an amount less than the entered value. This is the entered value. Look at the board, please. Nakikita niyo ba yung board? Guys, if this is the entered value, okay, the duty or the customs duty shall be based on this value. It can go higher or more than 15,000 if there would be an adjustment made by the customs officer. As a rule, the duty shall not be assessed and computed in an amount less than this entered value. Exception: when the duty is to be assessed and computed less than $15,000 as entered value. The exception to this rule that the duty shall not be assessed less than this 15K is this. When that exception exists. When it is ordered by the Commissioner of Customs, si Commissioner inorderan si District inorderan si Appraiser. Ang assessment niyo ng customs duty not based on 15K although it has been entered or it has been declared. Ang gagamitin mo, Mr. Appraiser, is 13K. Okay? That is one of the requirements wherein the CUD shall be computed and assessed lower than the entered value of 15K. Okay? Mas mababa. Kasi pag mas mababa ang makukolekta ng BOC, right, Ms. Silvestre? Now, when is the assessment of the CUD be made lower than the entered value? 1. Upon direction of the Commissioner of Customs. Number 2. When the importer certifies at the time of the lodgement of the entry or the goods declaration, the importer was compelled or forced by the customs officer to use this value instead of 13K. Naintindihan, guys? Ibig sabihin po niyan, ang tamang value talaga, actual value should be 13, but because the appraiser is demanding that the value or entered value should not be 13K but 15K. Ano ang nangyari? Was 15K voluntarily declared or involuntarily declared, Mr. Pineda? Involuntary. So, ibig sabihin, ito talaga yung value. Ang ginawa ng appraiser is in-increase niya. Now, when the importer can certify or issue certification that the reason why 13K was not used because there was a demand from the customs officer to use this instead of using this. And that certification shall be verified by the Commissioner of Customs, and if found true and correct, that the reason why 13K was not used, instead 15K was used, is by reason that it was increased, it was demanded, and it was increased by the customs officer. Kung ikaw po ang importer, Mr. Pineda, at ang kausap mo, customs officer, ipagpipilitan mo ba yung 13K, Mr. Pineda? Okay, in most instances, pag sinabi ng appraiser 15K, hindi nila tatanggapin yung 13K, normally po, ang importer po, don't want to encounter any problem. Normally, they would just follow the demand and increase by the customs officer. Para wala na lang maging issue. Tama ba? Yan po nangyayari. Okay? Maliwanag po. So, ang mangyayari po dyan, susunod na lang si importer or yung customs broker, susunod na lang sa gusto ng customs officer to avoid delay in the release. Kasi pag pinagpilitan to, at ang gusto ng appraiser ito, medyo may problema po, hindi magkasundo. Madidelay yung paglabas ng kargamento, right, Mr. Pineda? So therefore, when the importer, instead of declaring or entering a 13K, the importer just complied with the demand and increase made by the customs appraiser, that entered value was not entered voluntarily. It was entered involuntarily. Question is, can the importer ask that the value be used or that the value to be used is 13K? Yes, when the importer can certify that at the time of the lodgement or entry of the goods declaration with the BOC, there was a demand of increase made by customs appraiser. And in order to avoid for the importer to encounter any problem regarding release, the importer just complied with the demand. Now, if after verification by the Commissioner of Customs that the importer was compelled to use this value instead of this, and if the Commissioner found out that the correct value is 13K instead of 15K, that would be the time that the assessment of duty shall be based upon a value lower than 15K. Ito po gagamitin. Maliwanag po? Maliwanag po? Ito po kasi pinilit lang siya, kaya pumayag siya. Ngayon, nag-certify si importer na kaya po kami pumayag sa 15K as entered value kasi pinilit kami ni appraiser, kaya pumayag kami. But under the general rule, if this is the entered value, then the duty shall be computed based on this, not on this. But if the importer can certify that the importer was compelled or was forced to use this value instead of this, then after verification by the Commissioner of Customs and the Commissioner found out that this was involuntarily declared, and this is the correct value, then that would be the time that the assessment of CUD shall be based not on this, but based on this. Lower than the entered value. Okay? Maliwanag po. Now, in case there was an issue, wala pong question regarding value, or there was a question, but the question was referred to BCRC. And this value, as entered, is not the correct value, is not the actual value, but this one is the correct value. Nagkaroon po ng dispute between appraiser and importer. Dinala mo sa PRC, BCRC. And the BCRC decided that it is not 15K that should be used, but instead, it should be 13K. Again, that would be the time that the assessment of CUD shall be based not on 15K as entered, but based on what has been the findings of the BSCRC. So there are two instances wherein the assessment of CUD shall be based upon a value lower than the entered one. Ito po yun. Yung una po, when the importer certifies that he or she was compelled to use a higher value than the actual value. And he was or she was compelled by reason of demand and increase made by customs officer. Second, when there is a dispute and the case is pending with the BCRC and the BCRC decides in favor of 13K instead of 15K, then the CUD or customs duty shall be assessed lower than 15K. Ang magiging basihan po, based on the ruling of the BCRC, it should be 13K. Maliwanag po? Maliwanag po. Now, whenever an importer certifies in writing that this value was involuntarily entered or the case before or pending with the BCRC, the value was declared, okay, in good faith, talagang ito po ang totoo, 13K, hindi po ito. Sinunod lang po nung importer ang gusto ng appraiser. And whenever the importer certifies that they just followed and complied with the demand of increase by the customs appraiser, it must be made, or the certification must be made in good faith. And after due diligence to determine the correct value, it is really 13K that should be entered, not 15K. Guys, pag nasa Bureau of Customs po kayo, pag sinabi ng customs appraiser, ito ang gamitin mo. Ikaw naman po, customs broker. So, sila po yung makapangyarihan. Tingin mo kaya, makakapalag ka ba, Mr. Pineda, kung ikaw ang customs broker? Normally, susunod ka sa customs officer, right, Mr. Pineda? So ngayon, kung ikaw napilitan lang dito, you were involuntarily declared or you involuntarily declared this amount by reason of the demand of the customs officer, then you can question that before the commissioner by issuing a certification that this was involuntarily declared and entered. And what should be entered is 13K. So pag sabi ni commissioner, tama, ito ang gagamitin, hindi po yan. In that case, panalo si importer versus the customs officer. Did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get it? Miss Sison, do you have any question so far? 428 po. Okay, so ito napilitan lang. Kaya pumayag si importer. Kasi pinipilit siya ng customs officer. Ayaw ma-delay ni importer yung release ng goods, kaya pumayag siya dito. Pero kinwestiyon niya before the commissioner. Si commissioner sabi niya, tama po, 13K lang. Kaya ang mangyayari, instead of using 15K, lower than the entered value is 13K, ito po gagamitin. Maliwanag? Miss Silvestre, did you get it? Miss Pineda? Miss Pineda, when does final or when does assessment become final? Miss Pineda, I am referring now to Section 429. My question, malayo po yung sagot mo. When does assessment become final? Assessment becomes final after 15 days from date of receipt of the final assessment notice. So, if final assessment notice has been transmitted today, ano ngayon? January 19, right? Tama? Miss Pineda? Okay. Hanggang kailan yung 15 days, Mr. Pineda? February 3. Tama ba, Miss Pineda? So, start po niyan is the 15 days shall commence or commence on 1/20. Then, 15 days is, kailan, Mr. Pineda? February? Tama ba? Oh, kayo na magbilang. Miss Silvestre, tama ba yung February 3? Okay, this is the 15th day. February 4, the assessment becomes final. In other words, if the importer has question regarding the final assessment notice, the question should be raised between January 20 up to February 3. Did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get it? If the question has been raised after 15th day, let's say February 4, the Bureau of Customs will no longer entertain that question because the assessment has already become final. What does it mean whether the assessment is high or big? You have to pay it now. You have to pay it already because it has already become final. Kung questionin mo is, if you're the importer and you want to question it, do it before or within the 15 days period. Otherwise, if you question the assessment after 15th day, then you can no longer question it because it has already become final. Kung mataas yan, babayaran mo na yung mataas. Did you get it, Miss Silvestre? So, the moral lesson there, if the importer wants to question the assessment notice, if it is sent today, then 15 days mo lang or within 15 days, you have to question it. After the lapse of 15 days, wala kang question or nag-file ka ng question, you can no longer question it because the BOC will no longer entertain the question because the 15 days has already expired. Now, what is the purpose of counting the 15 days? Now, the purpose of counting the 15 days, you are, required to pay now if there are no questions. Or if there is no questions within, or there is no question regarding the assessment, pay it within 15 days. That is, if you, the importer, pay it or pays it, okay? If you pay it, or if the importer pays it within 15 days, okay, no interest po. But if you pay it after 15 days, nagsimula ka dito, it will have interest po. Imagine, ha? Bayad ka within 15 days from receipt of the final assessment notice. The duties and taxes shall not be subject to interest. But if the importer pays it after the 15th day, then the Bureau of Customs is allowed to impose an interest pursuant to Section 104 of the CMTA. How much is the interest? %20 po. Maliwanag po. Per annum po. Meaning, divide by this by 12, per month po, lalabas. O, di mo, 20% over 12. Lalabas po dyan, Miss Silvestre, kung magkano ang interest per month. Tama, Miss Silvestre? Okay. Maliwanag po. Now, failure to pay it within 15 days, oh, may interest po yan. Okay? Without or within 15 days, no interest. So, which one? Kung kayo importer, saan po kayo mag-avail? Within or after 15 days? Mr. Pineda, saan ka? Within, kasi po may interest eh. Ngayon, 20% divide by 12. Kung inabot ka ng 3 months, or let's say 2 months na lang, bago mo nabayaran. So, 2 months interest ang babayaran mo. Principal, the computed duties and taxes, plus 2 months interest. Lalaki po ba yung babayaran mo? Yes po, because of the interest po. So, moral lesson, if you don't have any question, okay, then you pay it within the 15 days. After 15 days po niyan, saka mo palang binayaran. The amount due for duties and taxes shall earn an interest. Okay? And that is allowed under Section 104 po. Okay? 430. Please read. Miss Season, 430, please. Okay, assuming the final assessment is made today, 2021, and the duties and taxes as finally assessed was paid on, let's say, 2021. Final payment was made on January 20. Up to January 20, 2024. That is the 3 years limitation. Ano ibig sabihin ng 3 years limitation? Kung ang payment po dito naganap, the BOC can recompute and liquidate and reassess what has been paid on January 20 up to January 2024. In other words, within 3 years period of limitation or prescription. Kung meron pong kulang na binayaran at hindi po napansin ng Bureau of Customs, the BOC can still go after the importer. Provided that when the BOC goes after the importer who has already paid the duties and taxes on February 20, going after the importer should be made within the 3 years period of limitation. Pwede pang habulin ka ng BOC kung kulang ang binayaran mo. Did you get it? After 3 years, ito po, 121. And it was discovered that kulang or there was lacking what has what was paid by the importer, and it's already January 21, 2024, when it was discovered, the BOC can no longer go after the importer. Maliwanag po? Maliwanag po? Okay, so therefore, kung maghahabol ang BOC, it should be within the 3 years period from date of final payment of duties and taxes. If the BOC will go after the importer after the 3 years, hindi na upi pwede kasi it has already prescribed or expired. Dapat gawin ng BOC yun within 3 years period. Now, the 3 years period limitation or period of limitation shall not apply when there is fraud. Ibig sabihin po, kaya po yun lang ang binayaran ni Mr. Importer on January 20, 2021 because the importer has committed fraud. Maaring pinalsify niya yung invoice, pinalsify niya yung BL, or there was fraud in lodging, declaring and lodging and payment of duties and taxes. Kaya po, bumaba ang binayaran niya because of fraud. Now, in case there is fraud, no period of limitation. Kasi nandaya ka eh. Pag nandaya ang importer, yung 3 years po, hindi po mag-a-apply. Ibig sabihin yan, kahit na 4 years na, 5 years na, as long there is fraud, the BOC can still go after the importer. Did you get it? Did you get it? But if there is no fraud, and the BOC wants to collect additional duties and taxes, the BOC should do it before the expiration of the 3 years period of limitation. Maliwanag po? Maliwanag po? So pagka po may pandaraya on the part of the importer, the 3 years period of limitation shall not apply. Kahit 5 years na po yan, kahit na 6 years pa yan, nandaya ka eh, hindi tatakbo yung 3 years. Wala po yung 3 years, hindi po mag-a-apply. Did you get it? Okay, maliwanag po. Maliwanag po. Assuming on let's say, February 19, okay, nagbayad ka February 19, okay, nagbayad ka ng 1.2 million, but because of financial problem, ang nabayaran mo lang is 800,000. Magkano kulang mo? Miss Season. So, merong balancing 400. Tama? 400. And, ito, nabayaran mo ito, January 19. And, the final payment to complete 1.2 was made, let's say, February 5. Assuming there is no fraud. When are you going to reckon and count now the 3 years period, Miss Season? Is it on February 19 or is it on January 19 or February 5? Yes po, ito po kasi yung final date of final payment. Maliwanag po, ibig sabihin po, ito hindi kumpleto binayaran mo, hindi pa siya final. Ito po yung magiging final. Kaya po ito ang magiging reckoning point ng 3 years period. Maliwanag po? Maliwanag po? Okay. Assuming ang nangyari, ang gusto ng importer, 800 lang, pero ang findings ng BOC, 1.2. Binayaran mo na ni importer yung 800. Tapos yung kaso na difference, nasa BCRC. Nag-decide ngayon ang BCRC, February 4. Binayaran ngayon yung kulang out of this 400. On 5, ang magiging bilang po, ito pa rin. Because February 5 was the date when the final payment of duties and taxes was made. So, hindi po dito tatakbo sa January 19. Tatakbo po starting February 6 po. Klaro, guys? Klaro po? Okay. 31. Mr. Verano. 431. Mr. Verano. Miss Season, ikaw na lang. Wala si Mr. Verano. Nag-drop na yata. Okay, Miss Season, what's the rule regarding 431? Can you cite to us the simple rule regarding release of goods? Summarize the rule. Mr. Pineda, what's the rule? Yes. Yes, no payment, no release, Miss Season. That's simple as that. Ikaw naman. Parang sa pagpasok mo sa school, no ID, no entry. Miss Season, are you getting me? So simple as this, no payment of duties, taxes, and other charges, no release. Papers before release, right, Miss Season? Dami-dami mo sinasabi. Simple rule lang ang gusto kong malaman mo. No payment, no release. There is payment, then there is release. That's the rule. Did you get it? Next paragraph, please. So why the goods or why sample of the goods has been submitted for laboratory analysis? Because the goods is difficult to classify and or difficult to appraise. Mahirap makuha yung value or mahirap i-classify siya. That's the reason why the customs examiner took samples and the samples were submitted for laboratory analysis. What's the purpose? For the expert, okay, for technical expert to give an advice as to the correct tariff classification and correct value of the goods. What if the customs laboratory analysis will take, let's say, 20 days? Baka ang tagal nun. So, 20 days po, lalabas pa lang yung technical advice or expert opinion or advice ng customs laboratory po. So, madidelay ba yung shipment? Madidelay ba yung paglabas ng shipment, Miss Silvestre? Yes, of course. Kasi antayin pa yung resulta eh. Tama ba? Kasi po, kung aantayin pa yung resulta, saka pala malalaman kung anong value or anong classification ang gagamitin. Right, Mr. Pineda? Miss Pinon? What if it will take 20 days? So, 20 days din po man di-delay yung kargamento, right? So, now, Miss Silvestre, you're the importer and you want the goods immediate release. Is there a remedy while the case or while the goods is being analyzed in a customs laboratory? What is the remedy? Okay, so therefore, during the pendency or during the customs laboratory analysis, the importer can ask the release of the goods in spite that there is no technical advice or technical expert or no result yet of the customs laboratory, pwede pong ilabas yung kargamento. However, the importer shall be required to post a sufficient what? Security, okay, equivalent to the duties and taxes as found. Yan po yan. Kung ano po yung possible duties and taxes, okay, that should be the amount of surety. O, nakapending pa, pero pwede mo nang ilabas. Okay, kasi pag inantay mo, kawawa importer. Now, prior release of the result of the customs laboratory, then the importer can ask for the release of the shipment by posting a sufficient security equivalent to what the BOC believes to be paid by the importer. Kung magkano man yung gusto ng import, kung magkano yung computed nila, yun po ang magiging amount of security. Miss Mariano, 432. Now, class, ang procedure po ganito. This is the bill of lading. Okay, this is issued by the shipping line from the country of origin. Galing po ng origin yan. Then upon the arrival of the goods, the bill of lading is now in the possession of the importer. Okay? Prior release of the shipment from the BOC, the bill of lading shall be surrendered first to the shipping line. Nandiyan na po yung container guarantee, yung mga ganon, kasama na po dyan. In other words, class, pupunta si importer through its customs broker, dala po yung original bill of lading, okay, sa shipping line. Okay? Then, the shipping line endorses it. Tatatakan niyang bill of lading. Pag nabayaran na lahat yung dapat bayaran sa shipping line ng importer. Ito ngayong bill of lading, ang gagamitin ngayon ni customs broker with the BOC in applying for the release and delivery of the goods. Okay, dalawa po yan. Either i-endorse po yung BL, i-endorse, or the shipping line issues the so-called delivery order. So, surrender yung BL sa kanila, papalitan ngayon ng delivery order. Maliwanag? So, ibig sabihin, either endorse ito at yung endorse BL, yun na rin ang gagamitin ng importer through customs broker in applying for the release of the goods from the BOC. Or, in some instances, shipping lines gets the BL and issues a delivery order. Once delivery order is issued to the importer through its customs broker, it is presumed that the BL has already been surrendered to the shipping line. Pinalitan na lang po yung BL ng delivery order. Any customs officer who releases goods to the consignee or lawful holder of the bill of lading or airway bill shall not be liable for any defect or irregularity. Ano po yun? Ibig sabihin po niyan, once the BOC allows the delivery of goods, so ang presumption, nabayaran nyo na yung duties and taxes. Ngayon, ako may hawak ng DO, nag-apply ako ng delivery sa BOC, tatanungin ako ng BOC, bayad mo na yung duties and taxes? Yes po. May hawak ang DO? Yes po. Then, that would be the time that the BOC would allow the release of the shipment to the person applying for delivery. I'm sure, okay, ako yung nag-a-apply. Hawak ko yung DO. Tinanong ako, oh, Mr. Importer, ako importer, nabayaran mo na ba yung duties? Ito po ang resibo, bayad na po. May delivery order ka or meron kang endorsed BL, galing ng shipping line, meron po, ito po. So if you were the customs officer and you are authorized the release of the goods to the person applying for the delivery and you allowed the delivery, it turned out later, anong nangyari, Ms. Silvestre? Ms. Silvestre, ako yung nag-apply ng delivery, ikaw ang Bureau of Customs. Pinayagan mo because there is a DO and I have already paid the duties and taxes. Later on, it turned out, ano nangyari? Ms. Silvestre, ano nangyari? Mr. Pineda, ano nangyari? Nagkamali. Nagkamali si Bureau of Customs. It turned out, I am not the real owner. That's what happened. Ibig sabihin, the customs officer, when he or she allowed the delivery, he or she relied upon the DO, which is genuine and true. Kaya niya pinayagan ng delivery. But later on, it turned out, I am not the real owner. It is Miss Season who is the owner. So ngayon, nagkaroon po, ano nangyari po? Nagkaroon po ng misdelivery or wrongful delivery. Right? Ganun po ang nangyari. Hindi naman pala ako may-ari. At ang may-ari pala, it's Miss Season, but it was allowed by the Bureau of Customs to be delivered to me instead of Miss Season. Ako nag-apply. Si Miss Season, hindi naman siya nag-apply. However, the real owner or consignee is not me, but Miss Season. Therefore, there was what? Wrongful delivery or misdelivery. Question, Miss Silvestre. Kung ikaw ang Bureau of Customs or ikaw ang customs officer who allowed the delivery, can you be held liable? Mr. Pineda? Ms. Pariano? Miss Season? Okay. Miss Pineda? Mr. Bayabyab? Hindi po siya dapat maging liable. Okay, the answer is this. Ms. Silvestre, what's your answer again? Okay, nagbago na. Bakit pa bago-bago? Now, it depends po ang sagot. Why it depends? If the customs officer has already noticed that there is defect or irregularity in the bill of lading. Ito po yung bill of lading. Napansin niya po, mukhang napalitan yung pangalan. Instead of Miss Season, pinatungan ko ng Mr. Doroteo, ang consignee. And the customs officer noticed that, nakita niya na. And yet, he allowed the delivery. That would be the time that the customs officer would be liable for misdelivery. Did you get it? Alam mo na eh, na may problema eh. Kung yung DO, napalitan yung pangalan because it was replaced from season or there was an irregularity from season, naging Doroteo. O ngayon, napansin mo na. Pinayagan mo pa yung delivery. Kasalanan mo ba yon, Miss Silvestre? Kung ikaw yung customs officer. Ngayon, kung hindi mo napansin, kasalanan mo pa ba yon? Hindi po. Pag hindi mo napansin, and it appears that there was no irregularity or defect in the bill of lading or DO, and the customs officer failed to realize and notice that wala naman siya nakitang irregularity, wala naman defecto, then he or she would not be liable. Pero kung alam mo na may problema eh, merong erasure or may tampering of the name of the consignee, and yet, pinayagan mo pa rin, then that would be the time the customs officer would be held liable. Maliwanag, Mr. Pineda? Maliwanag. Maliwanag, Miss Silvestre, Miss Season, Miss Pinyon, Miss Mariano? So, ibig sabihin, kung wala kang alam at wala kang idea regarding irregularity or defect, at pinayagan mo may deliver, hindi mo nakasalanan yun. Pero kung may alam ka na, at pinayagan mo pa rin, may problema ka na, right? That's the rule. Did you get it, Miss Silvestre? Alam mo na pala eh. Tama ba? Yan ang sinasabi dyan. 433. Miss Pineda. So what is the rule regarding shipping line? The shipping line will not release the goods unless, the bill of lading is surrendered. Ganun lang po yan. And the shipping line will not issue a delivery order if the bill of lading has not been surrendered. Ganun lang po ang rule. And the Bureau of Customs shall not allow the delivery of goods if there is no delivery order or if there is no endorsed bill of lading. Maliwanag po? Maliwanag po? So therefore, pag wala pong bill of lading na maipipresent si importer before the Bureau of Customs, yung bill of lading po, pirmado na po ng shipping line. Pagka po pirmado or endorse na yan, meaning, nabayaran ni importer lahat ng dapat niyang bayaran sa shipping line. And that the shipping line's endorsement is now asking the Bureau of Customs that they can release the shipment to the person applying for delivery. Now, if there is no surrender of bill of lading, but a delivery order has been issued, then, from that delivery order, the BOC allowed the delivery of the goods. Then, the BOC shall not assume responsibility for misdelivery. Kasi sinunod lang namin yung delivery order ng shipping line. Ngayon, kung ikaw ang customs officer, nakita mong merong tampering, may erasure regarding the name of the person to whom the goods is to be delivered, meron ka ng suspected na yung nag-a-apply, hindi siya ang may-ari at pinabayaan mo pa rin i-deliver. Yan, may problema na po yung customs officer. Maliwanag po? Under the last paragraph, when a delivery is to be allowed by the Bureau of Customs based on delivery order, the importer applying for delivery shall be or may be required by the BOC to submit a copy of the bill of lading as endorsed by the shipping line. So kung ito po in-endorse to at ang hawak ngayon ng the person applying for the delivery is with DO, the BOC may still ask for the submission of an endorsed BL. So DO na, meron pang endorsed BL. Ano ang ginagawa lang ng BOC pagka ni-require niya, Mr. Pineda, yung dalawa? DO plus a copy of endorsed BL. Ano ang ginagawa ng Bureau of Customs? Sinisigurado niya lang na talagang yung nag-a-apply for delivery is the real owner po. Tama po ba? Siyempre kung akong Bureau of Customs, DO lang ang dala mo. Teka muna. Under the last paragraph of 433, the BOC may require the person applying for the delivery, aside from DO, please submit a copy of an endorsed BL by the shipping line or BL endorsed by the BL. O yung DO mo, nakakabit pa yung endorsed BL. So ngayon, tingin mo kaya, magkakaroon pa ba ng diferensya? Sigurado na yan. Kasi bakit? Dalawang dokumento na yung pinipresent sa'yo. DO plus endorsed BL. Did you get it? So, ang ginagawa lang nila, under the last paragraph of this 433, is that the customs officer is just ensuring that the person applying for delivery is the person entitled for such delivery or to such delivery. Ngayon, ikaw, Ms. Silvestre, alin ang gagawin mo? Yung DO lang or DO plus BL po? Kung ikaw ang customs officer. Yes, DO plus BL. Kasi pagka sumablay ka at napansin mo na may diferensya na pala yung DO, ayan, yan yung pagkakataon that you can be or the customs officer can be held liable. Maliwanag, Mr. Pineda? Kaya kayo, as future customs official, customs officer, baka mamaya, DO lang pinakita sa inyo, tapos yung DO mukhang tampered pa, napansin nyo na, binayagan nyo pa yung delivery. Merong nag-claim na totoong may-ari. At tatanungin ngayon, sino ang pumayag sa delivery? Tatanungin, ano ba sinadbit sa'yo? DO po. Pati nga ng DO, tingnan nyo, merong erasure. Mr. Customs Officer, may problema po kayo. Mr. Pineda, nakita mo ang point ko? What? Did you get my point there? So, if you become a customs officer someday, no, at you are in charge of allowing whom to deliver the goods, make sure the person to whom you are going to allow the delivery is the person who really owns the goods, right, Ms. Tison? Okay. Naintindihan, guys? Okay. At least alam niyo kung ano yung responsibility niyo as future customs official. Okay? 434, please. Miss Mariano. Miss Beautiful. This is the banded warehouse, CBW. Goods are here, stored in a CBW. Can you see the illustration, guys? Nakikita nyo? Goods po, nandito po. Guys, can you see the illustration? Okay. Okay, these goods belong to A. An importer may issue, meaning if these goods stored in a CBW belongs to A, then A is presumed to be the importer or consignee, right? Naliwanag? If A authorizes B as the customs broker to release the goods from the CBW, tingnan nyo to, ulitin ko, if A authorizes B, a customs broker, to release the goods from CBW, then delivered to the consignee's warehouse, who shall be responsible for the duties and taxes? Ms. Mariano, sino ang dapat magbayad ng duties and taxes? Because A is the person as the importer. And when A authorizes B, it does not relieve or it will not relieve A from the payment of duties and taxes because insofar as 434 is concerned, the goods is owned by A, and therefore, if A owns the goods, then A should be liable for duties and taxes. Did you get it? Now, assuming A authorizes B, not a customs broker, another importer. Okay? A authorizes B, not a customs broker, but another importer. A authorizes B to release the goods because B already bought the goods from A. Did you get it? Mr. Pineda, naintindihan ba yung sample ko? Kanina, customs broker. Ngayon, another importer po si B. And B bought the goods from A. And A sold the goods to B. In other words, who is now the importer? B. Now, B, who is now liable to pay the duties and taxes? Under the last paragraph po, it is now B. When B assumes, okay, the liability. So, kung hindi pa tinatanggap ni B yung responsibility to pay the duties and taxes, although B has already paid it, then it is A has the responsibility to pay. But when B bought it from A and B also assumes the liability to pay, then the liability to pay the duties and taxes is transferred from A to B. Did you get it, Ms. Mariano? Okay. Maliwanag? Maliwanag? So, kung inauthorize ka lang to release, without assuming the liability for duties and taxes, the original owner, A, should be liable for the duties and taxes. But when you are authorized by the original owner, A, and you, as the person who was authorized to apply for the delivery, and you assume, ikaw na yung mananagot sa duties and taxes, then it is you who becomes liable for the payment of duties and taxes. Maliwanag? But when the authority to release is only up to the extent of releasing it, yung person na inauthorize mo hanggang release lang, hindi siya dapat ma-require magbayad ng duties and taxes. But when the person was authorized not only to release, but also to pay the duties and taxes, then that person now assumes the payment of duties and taxes. Maliwanag, guys? Okay. Next, please. 435, please. What is lien? L-I-E-N, Miss Mariano? You forgot it. Miss Pignon, what is lien? Yeah, forgotten. Valid claim po. Valid claim. Okay, valid claim by number 1, shipping line. Okay, tracking company. And shipping line again. Tingnan nyo ito maigi para malaman ninyo. Burahin ko muna yung illustration ko kanina. So, a lien is a valid claim. So, sa Bureau of Customs, the release shall not be allowed without payment of duties and taxes, right? Tama ba, Mr. Pineda? O, bayad na nga po yung duties and taxes, ayaw pa rin i-release. Bakit kaya, Mr. Pineda? Bayad na yung duties and taxes, na-surrender na yung bill of lading, lahat-lahat, kompleto na. Bakit ayaw pa rin i-release ng BOC? Ayaw pa rin i-release ni district? No! Si importer po, andito po yung kargamento, nasa BOC, at hawak ni DC, anding kargamento. Bayad na po ni importer yung duties and taxes, and everything has been paid. However, the importer owes what? The shipping line or the trucking company. For what? Number 1, may utang si importer, okay, sa isang shipping line, okay, na hindi niya pa nababayaran. And, umabot po ng korte through a competent, okay, through a competent court that the claim of the shipping line against this is a valid claim. And there was a decision by the court, and the decision was forwarded to the BOC, to the District Collector of Customs who has the possession of the goods. O, ibig sabihin, si shipping line, idinimanda niya, si importer, nakarating sa korte. Nakarating ngayon sa korte. Ngayon, nagdesisyon sa korte. Tama si shipping line. Yung desisyon ipinadala sa BOC, sa DC, or District Collector, who has the custody of the goods. Now, if DC has received the goods, or if DC has received the decision that importer really owns the shipping line or the trucking company either for freight or general average, then that will allow the District Collector of Customs to withhold the delivery. Okay? Maliwanag po. Okay? Maliwanag po. So in other words, class, when there is a case between the shipping line and importer for non-payment of freight or non-payment of lighterage to a trucking company, nagdemanda si trucking company or nagdemanda si shipping line for non-payment of previous freight or non-payment of general average, at umabot ng korte at yung korte nag-decide, they are correct, tama sila, talo si importer, ipinadala yung desisyon kay DC. The DC will now withhold the delivery pending. Okay? The delivery shall be withheld by the district until such time na nabayaran na po ni importer based on the court decision ang shipping line or trucking company. Pero hanggat di pa nababayaran, kahit nabayad na yung duties and taxes under 435, it shall be held by the District Collector of Customs. So, para mailabas yung kargamento, anong dapat mong gawin, Mr. Pineda, kung ikaw yung importer? Bayaran mo yung kulang mo sa shipping line kasi The shipping line has filed the case before the court and the court decided in favor of the shipping line and the court has informed the district collector of customs. May utang si importer. Yung goods ni importer na sa'yo, Mr. District. Ngayon, naghahabol si shipping line. Huwag mong ilalabas yan hanggat hindi bayad. Pwede bang gawin ni shipping line yon? Pwede bang gawin ni korte yon? Yes po. Nakalagay po dyan sa provision na yan. Maliwanag, Miss Season? Miss Season? So in case you are the shipping line, Miss Season, at nabalita mo, meron shipment na ilalabas or meron shipment na dumating si importer at may utang sa'yo, mag-file ka ng kaso ngayon sa korte. And wait for the decision of the court. Pagka nabigyan ng desisyon ng korte, o nagbigay ng desisyon ng korte, and the decision was in your favor, then, uutusan ni korte si district, huwag mo ipalalabasin yan kasi meron akong desisyon na may utang pa yan dito sa shipping line. Did you get it? Or sa trucking company. Maliwanag po. In case of disagreement, the district collector may release the goods after payment of the freight and lighterage due on the quantity or weight landed as actually determined. So kung ang nabayaran ni importer on the previous importation based on freight, let's say is 25,000, ang computation ng freight naman ni shipping line is 32,000. So ito lang ang alam na dapat bayaran. May kulang ba siya? Yes po. Yung 7,000 umabot po ng korte. So ngayon, in case of disagreement, whether this 25 should be only or should the amount only paid by the importer to the shipping line, but the shipping line in season 32. May difference po ba? Yes po. Now, in case of disagreement, then, ang gagawin po ni district collector is pagkakasunduin tong dalawa, the importer and shipping line. And they would be arranged and fixed by the district collector of customs. Ayusin silang dalawa. Oh, sige. Meet kayo sa gitna. Magkano ba yung hinihingi mo? 7,000. Okay. Ang gusto ni importer is 25 lang. Ito gusto 35. Normally po, pagkakasunduin ni importer at shipping line to resolve the issue. And normally po, the payment of additional freight shall be based on what actually is the number of quantity of goods that was transported by the shipping line for the freight. Kung magkano talaga yung dapat bayaran ni importer sa shipping line based on what they have transported. Actually, they have transported. Yun po yun. Who shall fix and resolve the issue now? It is the district collector of customs. Kung hindi sila magkasundo, gigit na si district at si district ang magpapakasundo sa kanila. Mag-aayos sa kanila. Yan po ang 435. Withholding release pending satisfaction of lien. Sino ang may claim? Hindi po BOC ang may claim. Ang may claim po is a private company po against the importer. At yung claim po, nakaabot na po ng korte. At nagdesisyon na po yung korte in favor of the claimant. Claimant, shipping line, or trucking company. May utang ka, Mr. Importer. In-inform ni korte, si district, i-hold mo yung shipment na yan. Yan po ang 435. Is there any question so far? Mr. Pineda? Okay. Miss Pignon, you. Last section, please. Mr. Pineda, can you repeat the rule regarding release of goods by the BOC? Pakikumpleto, Miss Season. Abo, gusto ko yung no payment o ganito kasi. Then, ano pa? Miss Season, tapos na? Hindi pa tapos. Under 431, the rule is very simple. No payment of duties, taxes, and other charges, no release of goods. But when the goods under 436 is subject to a fine or surcharge, in spite of payment of duties, taxes, and other charges, but non-payment of fine or charges due on that goods, then, again, no release. So what's the rule? Miss Season. Under 431, the rule is this. Yes, go ahead. Under section 436, of what? Yes, that's the rule. If the goods is not subject to payment of fine or penalty under 436, then the release shall be allowed only upon compliance of the rules under section 41. Tama ba, Miss Season? If the goods is also subject to payment of fine or surcharge under the CMTA, the release shall only be allowed after complying with section 431 and 436. Did you get it, Miss Season? Pakiulit mo nga yung rule, Miss Silvestre. Ano? Ba, ewan ko. Hindi ko alam. Kindly complete the rule, Mr. Pineda. Andali lang, Mr. Pineda. Andali lang, Mr. Pineda. Andiyan ba si Mr. Lavera? Mr. Lavera, can you repeat the rule? Okay, go ahead. Ano nasabi daw? Ano sabi? Lalong gumulo, Mr. Pineda, eh. Mr. Payabyabyo. Kumpleto ba, Mr. Pineda? Okay, hindi po. Ulitin ko po. Under Section 431, no payment of duties, taxes, and other charges, no release. Okay? Ha? Ulitin ko. No payment of duties, taxes, and other charges under Section 431, no release shall be allowed. Tama, Mr. Pineda?
Yes, sir.
Under Section 436, Although there is already payment of duties, taxes, and other charges, but the shipment is subject to payment of fine or surcharge. Again, no release shall be allowed if the fine or charge or if the surcharge or fine or surcharge is not yet paid. Ganun lang kasimple. Ibig sabihin niyan, 431, bayad mo yung duties, taxes, and other charges, it will be released if the shipment is not subject to fine or surcharge. But if the shipment is also subject to fine or surcharge, then the BOC shall not allow the release. Ganun lang po kasimple. Yung 431 po, ang presumption po, wala pong fine or penalty or surcharge. But under 436, meron po siya, or the goods is subject to payment of fine or surcharge. So, dalawa po yung babayaran. Pagka po, yung goods under 431 is also subject of a fine or penalty or surcharge. Maliwanag, Mr. Pineda? Maliwanag, Ms. Silvestre? Oh, Ms. Silvestre, pakiulit yung rule. But if the goods under also, okay? You're dismissed and see you again on Thursday po. Okay, class? Ano? Sino nagsasabi noon na walang power? Ang galing naman yan, advance, pero pag submission, late. Mr. Pineda, pag announcement ng walang power, Thursday, alam na alam kagad. Pero pagka magsasubmit ng worksheet ko, putyang na, pwede ba sir hanggang bukas? Miss Season, ang bilis naman ng info. O di advance talaga, pero pag magsasubmit ng worksheet, late na late. Or late pa, gusto. Oh, guys, para wala na tayong pag-uusapan dito, Mr. Pineda, no more deadline. Or may deadline. Magbibigay. Pag nagbigay ako ng worksheet next time, o yung late nag-submit ng worksheet, yung first worksheet ko, I'll accept it. Even though it is late. But second worksheet ko, meron pa ring deadline. Babaguhin ko na yung deadline. Miss Season, anong gusto mong deadline? 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. Ano? Lang ha, parang baka naman maiksi pa yon, nakakaya naman sa inyo. Ikaw, Miss Silvestre, nag-chat-chat ka pa sa akin. Ilang araw ang gusto mong deadline whenever I give you a worksheet? How many days would you like to have for the deadline? 1 day? 2 days? 2 days. Ikaw, Miss Mariano? Ba, depende sa item. Ayaw mo ng 1 day? 6 hours? 12 hours? 18 hours? Ayaw mo ng ganun. Ay, hindi naman biglaan yun kasi nag-announce ako ng alas 2 eh. Tapos binago ni Mr. Karandang ng alas 8. Hindi biglaan yun. Biglaan ba yun, Mr. Pineda? Ha? Mr. Pineda, biglaan yun? Sipahin kita dyan. Original yun, 2 to 5. Binago ng alas 8. Sasabihin mo, biglaan. Wag mo nga akong paglulukuhin. Nakapag-submit ka nga. Nakapag-submit ka before 10 o'clock, Mr. Pineda. Okay, pero at least, biglaan ba yun? Hindi. Okay, Miss Pinyon, how many days would you like to have a deadline for the passing or submission of the worksheet or next worksheet? How many days, Miss Pinyon? 2 days? Maiksi yata yun. Naba natin, gawin natin 3 days para medyo siguradong makapag-submit. Ikaw, Mr. Berano, how many days ang gusto mong deadline? 2 days? Baka maiksi pa yung 2 days. Hindi ba nakakaya sa inyo yun, Ms. Silvestre? Ms. Silvestre, baka naman gusto niyo pang gawin, 2 days talaga. Last call, 2 days? Hindi, tinatanong ko nga kayo na nga yung susundan ko yung gusto ninyo eh. Hindi, wala akong pakialam doon. Kaya nga, kung 2 days, kulang pa, gawin natin 3 days or 4 days, 5 days. Di ba? Para naman makapag-submit yung mga working natin. Para wala na reklamo. Mr. Pineda, how many days? Wala sumasagot ha. Parang nahiya. Kulang ba yung 2 days or sakto lang yung 2 days? Wala sasagot? Ano, Miss Mendoza, ilan? Miss Mendoza, 3 days. Baka naman kulang pa yung 3 days, Miss Mendoza. Miss Season, tingin mo, 3 days, okay na? Kaya na kayang isubmit yun? Okay na eh. Baka maiksi pa yon, Miss Season, hindi naman kaya maiksi yon. Enough. Mr. Payabyab, what about you? Meron kang suggestion regarding the number of days for the deadline? Baka meron kang suggestion. 4 days, ayaw mo, Mr. Payabyab, para sure makakapag... Ha? Okay na yun. Mr. Labero, what about you? Okay na ba yung 3 days sa'yo? Sabi ni Miss Mendoza. Okay. What about you, Miss Reyes? Okay. Ganun. Okay, 3 days. I have an idea. Para siguradong makapag-submit, Mr. Pineda. Mr. Pineda, I have an idea. Ikaw, Ms. Silvestre, I have an idea. Okay. Hindi, ba't kakakabang ka? 3 days nga, naiksiyan pa ako. Ito ang idea ko. Ano yung letter to? Hindi po. Anong letter to, Miss Season? Okay, ano ibig sabihin? What does it mean? Or what does it stand for? Deadline, AYW. Is it 3 days, 2 days, 1 day, 4 days? Mr. Pineda, what do you think is AYW? What does it stand? What does it stand? To avoid, advance your worksheet. Pag in-advance yung worksheet, may deadline, may hirapan. Baka hindi makapag-comply si Miss Mendoza. Tama? Hindi. Ano? Ito, nabasa mo, Mr. Pineda? Pakibasa, Mr. Pineda. Okay. What does it mean, Miss Silvestre? Hindi ito. Oh yes, that's it. Para walang reklamo, di ba? At least, may deadline. Kaya lang, ang deadline is AYW, as you wish. What does it mean? When do you wish to submit it? That would be the deadline. Okay, class? You're dismissed. And see you again next week if Thursday there would be no class. O yan ha. Miss Silvestre. Okay na ba ito sa'yo? As you wish? Ay, hindi. I'm just telling you the truth. As you wish, submit it when you wish to submit it. Meron bang oras dito? May araw ba dito, Mr. Pineda? Kahit isang taon na, pwede ba? Ano, no? If they wish to submit it after a year, then they can submit it because the deadline is AYW. Miss Silvestre, okay na? Wala. I will not deduct any. Kung after 2 years mo isasubmit, because that is your wish, then 2 years kayo mag-submit. That is the deadline. Tama? Ganun lang kasimple. Para wala tayong reklamo. Let's say, kung 2025 mo isasubmit yung worksheet number 1, alright, tatanggapin ko pa rin kasi nga, ang deadline po is as you wish. Tama? You're welcome, Miss Mendoza. Wala nang 3 days, Miss Mendoza, ha? Ano na ang deadline ngayon, Miss Mendoza? Okay. As you wish means what? Anytime you wish to submit it. Tama ba, Mr. Pineda? Baka naman may magreklamo pa dyan, Mr. Pineda. Nako. Diyos ke. Hindi ako galit niyan, natutuwa nga ako kasi balit, nagbigay ako ng deadline. Okay? Is there any question, guys? So, your assignment is about the minimi value. And please coordinate with other section 3A regarding the CAO and the CMO on the minimi value, right? Nasend mo na. So, Thursday, walang power dito. So, walang pasok. Tama? Hanggang kailan ba yung walang power? Di ba, mga 2 weeks, hindi ba? Gusto ko mga 2 weeks sana eh. Di ba pwedeng 2 weeks na walang power dito? Isang araw lang? 7 a.m. up to 6 p.m. Thursday, announce na yon, ha? Miss Season, baka mag-aral, baka habang bakasyon, baka gusto mo magbasa-basa para pag natatanong kita, hindi ka nagmumukhang sayang naman, no? Basa ka ng de minimi, maintindihan mo ano ba yung de minimi, okay? Sayang yung oras, Miss Season. Ha, wag kain ng kain, kasi yung kain ng kain, alam mo na, nakakahina. Kasi pag kumain ka, tutunawin yon. Pag tinunaw yun, naakit sa taas yun, hihina yung thinking mo. Okay, you're dismissed again. And see you again on Tuesday next week po. Maliwanag? Again, what is the deadline, Miss Reyes? Miss Reyes. Okay, as you wish. Yan. Mr. Pineda, siguro naman pagka as you wish ang deadline, Miss Silvestre, wala nang malilate niyan. Tama ba, Miss Silvestre? Hindi, tinan mo, nakangiti nga ako. Nakangiti ako, nakalabas pa yung ngipin ko. Mr. Anthony, tapos na ako. Paki-ano naman na lang, ha? Mr. Anthony. Tan.